What's up? It's your bro Taylor.
And your bro Ryan here.
And if you're looking for an easy, simple way to budget your money, today we're going to be talking about the 50-30-20 rule and giving you real numbers and a real example of what it'd be like to budget $70,000, which is roughly close to the median income in the US. So hopefully a lot of you guys can probably relate.
Stop wasting money on that dumb shit and instead put it in investment. I know it's tempting. You'll spend it and be broke again.
So Taylor, what exactly is the 50-30-20 budget?
Well, I'm glad you asked. The 50-30-20 rule is simply a budgeting guideline that divides your after-tax income into three main categories: needs, wants, and savings and debt payment. Now, 50% goes to your needs. And this is, several categories like rent, mortgage, utilities, groceries, things you truly need to survive. It's not, I want to go out to Cabo and this is all that. That would go into the next category of wants, which is 30%. And finally, 20% for savings, investing, debt repayment. If you have student loans or something, this is the money that you'd be applying to that, or an emergency fund like that, or retirement, or things like that. So those are the basic categories. You'll have to have the discipline in yourself to be able to properly categorize all your expenses into each of these categories properly, but those are the general guidelines.
So yeah, one of the reasons this has become so popular when it comes to budgeting is it's so simple, as you can tell. There's three categories, simple numbers to do math with. The name of the type of rule all makes sense. 50-30-20 tells you everything you need to know. And so we like it as well for that reason. People getting started, people that have never budgeted, people that absolutely hate budgeting, all of those categories, people can fit into this category of just a nice, simple, clean, easy budget. And just starting and having a budget is the biggest step, the biggest progression. You can get more in the weeds and do it differently and have multiple savings accounts, Excel sheet. You don't have to, though. Just start a budget. That's the biggest, most helpful thing you're going to do.
For sure.
So Taylor, how exactly do I apply this rule practically?
Well, let's get into the numbers real quick and give you a real example. So, like we said at the very beginning, we're going to use a budget of $70,000 just to make it simple money right there. Because according to the U.S. Census Bureau, as of 2022, the real median household income was $74,580.
I know what you're asking. Why didn't we just round up to 75,000? Because we make our own rules, okay?
But yeah, for simplicity, we're still going to use just $70,000. And based on Georgia taxes, your monthly after-tax income would be roughly $4,500. And obviously, the math from here is pretty simple, guys. How we were talking 50, 30, 20, that's what you do your multiplications there by. So $4,500 times 50% is $2,250. That's all you get to allocate for your needs. For your wants, you do that 4,500 times 30%, so you get $1,350. And then for savings, it's 20%. So same math there, and you get $900. So those are the amounts of money that you get to allocate to each of these categories. And your job is to make your expenses best fit with those numbers. Now, obviously, the first time you do this, everyone's percentages are going to be slightly off or way off, you know. But it may be a wake-up call to be like, wow, I got to really change my means. If your rent is taking up 70% of your income, that's not even all your needs right there, then you know that you're living in way too expensive of a place.
Yeah, nowadays it's actually extremely hard how many people are in a big-ish city or right even in the suburbs and they're paying only $2,200. It's not very common, honestly. So if you're in South Florida, if you're in Atlanta, like, you're probably not paying that. You're going way above, which means it's got to come from your savings or it's got to come from another category, your wants. So it's like you got to balance that because you only make so much money, and people get into debt because they spend more than they make. It's super, super simple, but it can really open your eyes to go, oh my gosh, I have $1,000 in car payments alone, and I still have student loans, I still have credit card debt, I still have medical payments. How am I going to do all this? Exactly. That's what you're doing this for. That's why you're budgeting. And again, this took us all of 2 minutes to explain. Okay, we make 45. Let's multiply 0.5, 0.3, and 0.2. That's it. We've got it figured out. Now let's make sure everything fits in those categories.
Yeah, and if you realize, like, oh my gosh, my needs so far exceed 50%, well, the ideal situation is you try and find ways in order to lower those costs. Like, maybe you add roommates. You're like, well, I don't really want to live with people, but this and that. That's pretty much just going to be a personal decision up to you. You can continue to spend more than 50%, but ideally, if you want to set yourself up for the best financial success, and, these exact percentages don't gauge financial success by any means, but as a general rule, I don't think you'd find any financial guru who say, yeah, you should spend 70% on rent. You just won't find that out there. So adding your roommate or maybe shopping around for your insurances and everything.
Getting a side hustle.
Yeah, there's a million ways to either lower your expenses or increase your income. But this is a real eye-opening way to go about it. And if we had to say that you should give in one category, we'll throw it out there that it should probably be wants. Now, we're not saying burnout or anything, We're not fanatics like that. Like, oh, we never go on vacation or anything. You should still have fun, but if the reality is you're like, I'm spending more than 100% of what I'm receiving, like you're going into debt.
Right.
The reality is you need to make cutbacks somewhere.
And that's a hard pill to swallow, to be honest.
Yeah.
It really is. And most times people they do definitely overspend sometimes on their needs, but most people overspend on their wants.
Yeah.
They get a newer car they don't need. They get a newer phone they don't need. They go on big extravagant vacation that they might feel like they need to relax, but you didn't need to go on that extravagant of a vacation.
Yeah.
You can find cheaper places. We have tons of videos on ways to save, ways to stay in your budget. So please check those out. Those might help if you just don't know what to do. But maybe all you needed was this step, and now you're like, wow, things need to change, and I know exactly what to do. Maybe that's all you needed.
Yeah, because in reality, while we say that you should probably take from your wants, most people just don't save or pay off their debt. That's where most people take from, because you still got to pay your needs. That's just a need. People still spend on their wants, and they just don't save. As we've shown before in various videos, a lot of people can't afford a $1,000 emergency that comes along. A lot of people don't have an emergency fund like that. So that's the reality.
So I know I'm wondering. I know you're wondering, Taylor. Do people actually follow this? Does anybody actually use this method?
Yeah, and that can be a bit tough. But to get into some real statistics, over 70% of people consider themselves a budgeter. Now, whether or not you believe that is, up for you to decide. But that's what the study said and everything. And 45% roughly said that they follow a budget similar to the 50-30-20 rule. So
so people use it.
Chunk of people right there, at least claiming they do.
Yeah.
So it's a tried and proven method that a lot of people have used. Because the 50-30-20 rule has been around for a long time. It's not a new concept that just came out this year or anything.
And the best part that I keep harping on is it's simple. That's why people stick to it. It's simple. It's not overwhelming. It's not this, you got to hire a CPA. It's simple. Anyone can do it. It's 3 calculations. I say calculations. That might be too big of a word. It's simple. All right, so we know what 50-30-20 is now. We had a real life example of close to the median salary in the U.S.
Yeah.
At least as of 2022 data.
Yeah.
Now, what are some tips to make me stick to it or help other people stick to it and really be successful in using this?
Yeah, it's a good question. So obviously, just starting out, you're going to want to track your spending. And there are so many ways to make this much easier for yourself. There are tons of apps out there. Or if you want to make your own spreadsheet or find a spreadsheet that someone else has created, there's a great way to do that, of course. But just tracking your spending, and you're going to want to look over probably a couple months to kind of figure out what your average spending is like. To be like, oh, I'm spending this much just going out for food or this much on clothes. I remember I did it at one point, and I'm like, spending $150 on clothes a month. I wear the same shirts every day. Like how is this possible that I'm doing this? So it can be a real eye opener. And a lot of people get motivated right off the bat then. They're like, oh my gosh, that all right there I could use for this instead and all these things.
And these apps, like we do want to harp on it a little bit, some of them are really good at that. And I know Rocket Money, it's not sponsored, but Rocket Money, I've been using them for a little bit now, and at the end of every month, they say, oh, you went to RaceTrac 6 times. I was like, wow, really? And I look, all gas. I didn't realize. And I'm like, wow, I did go a good number of times. Oh, you went to Kroger 17 times. Oh, my gosh, why did I go to Kroger so many times? Stuff like that. Oh, you have 3 subscriptions. Oh, your subscription increased. I've been getting that recently, and that'll be a sneak up fee. You don't even know they're increasing, and then Netflix goes up. Peacock goes up, and it all adds up. So they tell you how many subscriptions, if it's increasing, if trends change. So those are really good apps that if you don't want to manually put all this in, totally useful, and they alert you, which is great.
And then more specific to that 20% category is automating some of your savings and everything. Go ahead and auto withdrawing to, say, a retirement account, maybe a Roth IRA or whatever it is that you decide. Automating a lot of those things takes the worry and stress out of your hands, and also is just a great way to kind of make you not even see that money as yours, really. Like it exists in savings, and that's it. Like when I, invest, I have my Roth IRA all automated. So when it withdraws that money, it's not something I even have to worry about anymore. It's just already in there. I'm not going to go through the hassle of sending it back to me. It's gone. It's been automated. It's kind of already there.
That's a good tip.
And then finally, this takes a bit of discipline, but just reviewing regularly. You can make this a game, like budgeting and everything. Like put a goal out there for yourself. It's a great way to stay motivated. Be like, okay, this is what my budget is. My percentages are way off, but I want to save $1,000 by 2 months from now. And you start changing your percentage around. Maybe you reduce your wants, maybe add a roommate to kind of change your needs, or add a little side house or anything. And you see every month as you're reviewing that you're getting closer and closer to this goal. Maybe it's a vacation. It can be whatever, but just motivating yourself by setting goals is a great way to stay on track with your budget.
Yeah, those are all some great tips, and we've got plenty more. And again, plenty of videos that can help you and tips to stay on track and just different forms of budget, all of that stuff.
Yeah,
How to pay off debt, best methods. So please go check out those videos. We hope this video helped. We hope you guys like this. Please let us know in the comments if you got something out of this, you learned anything new at all. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Stop wasting money on that dumb shit and instead put it in investment. I know it's tempting, you'll spend it and be broke again.